Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Shri Bhakti Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai. Jai Om Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parigaracharai Ashtaparashata Shri Shri Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada ki jai. Nandi Koti Vaishnava Nandi ki jai. Ramacharya Shri Maharaj Thakur ki jai. Brings Lord Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Gaura Bhakti ki jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhana ki jai. Vrindavan Dham ki jai, Mathura Dham ki jai, Navadvip Dham ki jai, Jagannath Puri Dham ki jai, Bhakti Devi ki jai, Tulasi Devi ki jai, Yamuna Maya ki jai, Ganga Maya ki jai, Kamaleka Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. All glories to the Son of the devotees. All glories to the Son of the devotees. All glories to the Son of the devotees. All glories to Sri Guru Engaranga. Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya.
We had lightsabers. That'd be awesome. You know, the bomb was lightsaber. Hari Hari. Hare Rama, Hare Rama. All righty. Bhagavad Gita class. It's our introduction prayer. Page 1. Amagana Termadasya Gyana Jnana Salakya Shakshus Lumitam Yinatasme Shigurve Namaha Sri Chaitanya Mono Bishtam Sapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kara Mayam Dadati Swapatitikam. I was born in the darkest ignorance. My spiritual master opened my eyes with the torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. When will Sri Rupa Goswami Prabhupada, who has established within this material world the mission to fulfill the desire of Lord Chaitanya, give me shelter under his lotus feet? Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Pada Kamalam Shri Guran Vaishnavascha Shri Rupa Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunath Navitam Tasa Jevam Savetam Sadhutam Prayajana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishkas Kanvitam Cha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master and unto the feet of all Vaishnavas. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of Sri Rupa Goswami, along with his elder brother Sanata Goswami, as well as Raghunath Das and Raghunath Bhatta, Gopala Bhatta, and Sri Deva Goswami. I offer my respectful obeisances to Lord Krishna Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, along with Avidya and Acharya, Gadhar, Srivasa, and other associates. I offer my respectful obeisances to Srimati Radharani and Sri Krishna, along with their associates, Sri Lalita and Vishaka. Hey Krishna, Karuna Sindhu, Dino, Bando, Jagapate, Gopisha, Gopika, Kanta, Radha, Kanta, Namo Sute. Oh, my dear Krishna, you're the friend of the distressed and the source of creation. You're the master of the gopis and the lover of Radharani. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Tapa Kanchana Gorangi Rade, Vrindas Vaspare, Vispanu Sute Deve, Pranam Mame Hare Praye. I offer my respects to Radharani's bodily complexion is like molten gold, and who is the queen of Vrindavan. You are the daughter of King Vishbanu, and you are very dear to the Lord. Panchakapatarupayascha kripa sindhu bayascha patitanam pavapanayabayo vaishnavabayo nomo namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord, who can fulfill the desires of everyone, just like desire trees, and who are full of compassion to the fallen souls. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Veta Gadhar, Shri Vastagur Bhaktivinda. Off my obeisances to Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Veta Gadhar, Sri Vasan, and all others in the line of devotion. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we're on chapter 1, observing the armies on the battlefield, etc. Today we're starting at verse 12. Tasya Sanjayanya Harsham Guru Vera Pitamaha Shimham Naram Vindayat Yochahi Sankyam Dadhamo Pratapavam. Translation. Then Bhishma, the great valiant grandsire of the Kuru dynasty, the grandfather of the fighters, blew his conch shell very loudly, like the sound of a lion, giving Duryodhana joy. Tatta sankascha priyascha panavatnaka gomukha sahasvaibhaya Anyanta sabdas tumulo bhavat. Translation. After that, the conch shell, bugles, trumpets, drums, and horns were all suddenly sounded, and the combined sound was tumultuous. Text 14. Tata swetir hayar yukte mahati siyandane sit ito madhavaya padavas chaiva divyo shankyo padan matu tu. Translation. On the other side, both Lord Krishna and Arjuna, stationed on the great chariot drawn by white horses, sounded their transcendental conch shells. Text 15. Panchajanyam hikshiso devatattam dayanajaya padadram damno mahasakyam bhima karma vikotara. Translation. Thus the Lord Krishna blew his conch shell called Panchadaya. Arjuna blew the Devadatta, and Bhima, the ferocious eater and performer of Herculean tasks, blew his terrific conch shell called Pandrum. Text 16 through 18. Anatta Vijayam Raja Kunti Putro Yudhishthira Hitra Nakula Sahadevascha Sugasha Mani Pushpako Kashyascha Parameshvasa Shikandicha Maharataha Tristadyamno Vitrascha Satyaki Chaparapjita Drupado Drapadeyascha Savasya Pritvitipate Sabrajascha Mahabahu Syankyam Dadmu Pritak. Translation. King Yudhishthira, the son of Kunti, blew his conch shell, and Anantavishjaya and Nakula and Sadhava blew the Saghusa and Manipushpaka. That great archer, the king Kashi, the great fighter Sikandi, Tristadi Yuma Vishtra, and the incomparable Satyaki Drupada, the son of Drupadi, and the others. O king, such as the son of Subhadra, greatly armed, all blew their respective conch shells. Text 19. Sagasuratarastranam Hadayani Vijayatyat Nabascha Pritvinam Chaiva Tumalo Bayonu Natayan. Translation: the blowing of these different conch shells became uproarious, and thus vibrating both in the sky and on the earth. It shattered the hearts of the sons of Dharasta. Text 20. Atya Vichvashvititan Drishva Dartarastran Kapi Dvajaja Praviti Shastra Sampati Danu Udayam Yapadava Hikshesham Saravakyam Idam Mahipate. Translation: O king, at the time Arjuna, the son of Pandu, who was seated in his chariot, his flag-marked Hanuman, took up his bow and prepared to shoot his arrows. Looking at the sons of Dharasta, O king, Arjuna then spoke to Hirikesha Krishna these words. Text 21 through 22. Arjuna vacha sanyayo ubayo madhyaye ratam sapayaya me choita yavadita niskiseham yodu kama abashitam karmaya saha yodayam asmin rana samudayame. Translation: Arjuna said, O infallible one, please draw my chariot between the two armies so that I may see who is present, who is desirous to fight, who's desirous of fighting, and with whom I must contend in this great battle attempt. Our final text this evening, text 23. Yotsyamanam asakseham ya etetra samagata Tratra Tarastriya Drupadir Udepreya Chikirshava. Translation: let me see those who have come here to fight, wishing to please the evil-minded son of Dharasta. Returning to text 12. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Then Bhishma, the great valiant grandsire of the Kuru dynasty, the grandfather of the fighters, blew his conch shell very loudly, like the sound of a lion, giving Duryodhana joy. The grandsire of the Kuru dynasty could understand the inner meaning of the heart of his grandson Duryodhana. And out of his natural compassion for him, he tried to cheer him by blowing his conch shell very loudly, befitting his position as a lion. Indirectly, by symbolism of the conch shell, he informed his depressed grandson, Duryodhana, that he had no choice of victory in the battle because the Supreme Lord Krishna was on the other side. But still, it was his duty to conduct the fight, and no pains would be spared in that connection. Text 13. Was that orientation? Welcome to our Bhagavad Gita class. If you like to have a seat, we have this class every evening. Right now we're going over the first chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, observing the armies on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. And pretty much we go over about 11 verses a night. We read the translations and the purports and have a discussion on it. Welcome. Is this your first time here to the temple? Where are you from? How was that? Where are you from? Maryland? Oh, wow. Traveled a little bit. Well, welcome. So text 13, translation. After that, the conch shells, bugles, trumpets, drums, and horns were all suddenly sounded, and the combined sound was tumultuous. Text 14. Translation. On the other side, both Lord Krishna and Arjuna, stationed on a great chariot drawn by white horses, sounded their transcendental conch shells. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. In contrast with the conch shell blown by Bhishma Dev, the conch shells in the hands of Krishna and Arjuna are described as transcendental. The sounding of the transcendental conch shells indicated that there was no hope of victory for the other side because Krishna was on the side of the Pandavas. Jayastu Pandu Putranam Yesham Pakshe Dana Dana. Victory is always with the persons like the sons of Pandu because Lord Krishna is associated with them. And whenever and wherever the Lord is present, the goddess of fortune is also there because the goddess of fortune never lives alone without her husband. Therefore, victory and fortune were awaiting Arjuna, as indicated by the transcendental sound produced by the conch shell of Vishnu, or Lord Krishna. Besides that, the chariot on which both the friends were seated was donated by Agni, the fire god, to Arjuna. And this indicated that this chariot was capable of conquering all sides wherever it was drawn over the three worlds. Text 15. Then Lord Krishna blew his conch shell called Panchajanya. Arjuna blew his, the Devadatta, and Bhima, the ferocious eater and performer of Herculean tasks, blew his terrific conch shell called Pendrum. Report. Lord Krishna is referred to as Hirkesha in this verse because he is the owner of all senses. The living entities are part and parcels of him, and therefore the senses of the living entities are also part and parcel of his senses. The impersonalists cannot account for the senses of the living entities, and therefore they are always anxious to describe all living entities as senseless or impersonal. The Lord, situated in the hearts of all living entities, directs their senses, but he directs in terms of the surrender of the living entity. And in the case of a pure devotee, he directly controls the senses. Here on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, the Lord directly controls the transcendental senses of Arjuna, and thus his particular name of Hirkesha. Gornitai ki jai. The Lord has different names according to his different activities. For example, his name Madhusudhan became because he killed the demon of the name Madhu. The name is Govinda because he gives pleasure to the cows and to the senses. His name is Vasudev because he appeared as the son of Vasudev. His name is Devaki Nananda because he accepted Devaki as his mother. His name is Yashoda Nanda because he awarded his childhood pastimes to Yashoda at Vrindavan. His name is Partha Sarati because he worked as a charioteer of his friend Arjuna. Similarly, his name is Hirkesha because he gave direction to Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Arjuna is referred to as Dhananjaya in this verse because he helped his elder brother in fetching wealth when it was required by the king to make expenditures for different sacrifices. Similarly, Bhima is known as Rikodara because he could eat as ferociously as he could perform Herculean tasks, such as killing the demon Hidimba. So the particular types of conch shells blown by the different personalities inside the Pandavas, beginning with the lords, were all very encouraging to the fighting soldiers. On the other side, there were no such credits, nor the presence of the Lord, Krishna, the supreme dictator, nor that of the goddess of fortune. So they were predestined to lose the battle, and that was the message announced by the sounds of the conch shells. Would you like to read verses 16 through 18 in the purport?
What page are we on?
This is page 45 going on to 46. Yeah.
King Yudhishthir, the son of Kunti, blew his conch shell, the Ananta Vijay, and Nakula and Sahadev blew the Sugosha and Manipushpaka. That great archer, the king of Kashi, the great fighter Shakandi, Drishtadumna, Virata, and the unconquerable Satyaki, Drupad, the sons of Draupadi, and the others, O king, such as the son of Subhadra, greatly armed, their respective conch shells. Sanjaya informed King Dhritarashtra very tactfully that his unwise policy of deceiving the sons of Pandu and endeavoring to enthrone his own sons on the seat of the kingdom was not very laudable. The signs already clearly indicated that the whole Kuru dynasty would be killed in that great battle. The grandsire Bhishma, down to the grandsons like Abhimanyu and others, including kings from many states of the world. There, and all doomed. The whole catastrophe was due to King Dhritarashtra because he encouraged the policy followed by his sons.
Text 19. These different conch shells became glorious, and thus vibrating both in the sky and on the earth, it shattered the hearts of the sons of Dhritarashtra. Purport. When Bhishma and the others on the side of Duryodhana blew their respective conch shells, there was no heartbreaking on the part of the Pandavas. Such occurrences are not mentioned, but in this particular verse it is mentioned that the hearts of the sons of Dhritarashtra were shattered by the sounds vibrated by the Pandavas' party. This is due to the Pandavas and their confidence in Lord Krishna. One who takes shelter of the Supreme Lord has nothing to fear, even in the midst of the greatest calamity. Text 20. King, at that time, Arjuna, the son of Pandu, who was seated in his chariot, his flag marked with Hanuman, took up his bow and prepared to shoot his arrows. Looking at the sons of Dhritarashtra, O king, Arjuna then spoke to Hrishikesha, Krishna, these words. Purport. The battle was just about to begin. It is understood from the above statement that the sons of Dhritarashtra were more or less disheartened by the unexpected arrangement of military force by the Pandavas, who were guided by the direct instructions of Lord Krishna on the battlefield. The emblem of Hanuman on the flag of Arjuna is another sign of victory because Hanuman cooperated with Lord Rama in the battle between Rama and Ravana, and Lord Rama emerged victorious. Now both Rama and Hanuman were present on the chariot of Arjuna to help him. Lord Krishna is Rama himself, and wherever Lord Rama is, his eternal servitor, Hanuman, and his eternal consort, Sita, the goddess of fortune, are present. Therefore, Arjuna had no cause to fear any enemies whatsoever. And above all, the Lord of the senses, Lord Krishna, was personally present to give him direction. Thus, all good counsel was available to Arjuna in the matter of executing the battle. In such auspicious conditions, arranged by the Lord for his eternal devotee, lay the signs of assured victory. Text 21 and 22. Translation. Arjuna said, O infallible one, please draw my chariot between the two armies, so that I may see who is present here, who is desirous of fighting, and with whom I must contend in this great battle attempt. Purport. Although Lord Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead, out of his causeless mercy he was engaged in the service of his friend. He never fails in his affection for his devotees, and thus he is addressed herein as infallible. As charioteer, he had to carry out the orders of Arjuna, and since he did not hesitate to do so, he is addressed as infallible. Although he had accepted the position of a charioteer for his devotee, his supreme position was not challenged. In all circumstances, he is the supreme personality of Godhead, Rishikesha, the Lord of the total senses. The relationship between the Lord and his servitor is very sweet and transcendental. The servitor is always ready to render a service to the Lord. And similarly, the Lord is always seeking an opportunity to render some service to the devotee. He takes greater pleasure in his pure devotees assuming the advantageous position of ordering him than he does in being the giver of orders. As master, everyone is under his orders, and no one is above him to order him. But when he finds that a pure devotee is ordering him, he obtains transcendental pleasure, although he is the infallible master of all circumstances. As a pure devotee of the Lord, Arjuna had no desire to fight with his cousins and brothers, but he was forced to come onto the battlefield by the obstinacy of Duryodhana, who was never agreeable to any peaceful negotiation. Therefore, he was very anxious to see who the leading persons present on the battlefield were. Although there was no question of a peacemaking endeavor on the battlefield, he wanted to see them again and to see how much they were bent upon demanding an unwanted war. We go to the next one? Or
Yeah, our last text. Let me see those who have come here to fight, wishing to please the evil-minded son of Dhritarashtra. Purport. It was an open secret that Dhritarashtra wanted to usurp the kingdom of the Pandavas by evil plans in collaboration with his father, Dhritarashtra. Therefore, all persons who have joined the side of Arjuna must have been birds of the same feather. Arjuna wanted to see them in the battlefield before the fight was begun, just to learn who they were, but he had no intention of proposing peace negotiations with them. It was also a fact that he wanted to see them to make an estimate of strength, which he had to face, although he was quite confident of victory because Krishna was sitting by his side. Hare Krishna. Sorry, my mind just feels like mush right now. I didn't get my nap in today. Any comments on this? Okay.
At the end, it talks about Krishna, about standing next or sitting next to Krishna gives you confidence and victory, which it goes back to faith and grace. And that's just one of those things that I love about Krishna, is the opportunity to have that confidence. And a lot of times in my service, I find that I'm doing things I wouldn't normally want to do, but as a vessel, I do these things knowing that I fear disappointing God more than anything else. And in that, there is a confidence, and a confidence I was never able to give myself or validate myself with.
Oh, that's very nice. Yeah, because when the Lord is present, you'll be victorious. You got to imagine what the armies on the other side, were thinking when they heard all these conch shells blowing and seeing Krishna on the other side of the battlefield. It was not going to be a good day for them. Oh, I'm sorry. I am just so tired right now. Would you like to give a little bit of class today, Dr. Caleb? My mind is just mush right now. I can't even think straight.
I find it interesting, the first part of this purport on text 21 through 22. It says, out of his causeless mercy, he was engaged in the service of his friend. He never fails in his affection for his devotees, and thus he is addressed herein as infallible. As charioteer, he had to carry out the orders of Arjuna, and since he did not hesitate to do so, he is addressed as infallible. Although he had accepted the position of a charioteer for his devotee, his supreme position was not challenged. In all circumstances, he is the supreme personality of Godhead, Hrishikesh, the Lord of the total senses. And a little bit more, actually. The relationship between the Lord and his servitor is very sweet and transcendental. The servitor is always ready to render a service to the Lord, and similarly, the Lord is always seeking an opportunity to render some service to the devotee. He takes greater pleasure in his pure devotees assuming the advantageous position of ordering him than he does in being the giver of orders. So this is just a really, really nice concept that at least for me, with the, dealing with the false ego, if I'm put in a position where I'm able to control others and give out commands, we sometimes say, I don't know what movie this is from or whose quote this is, but absolute power corrupts and absolute power absolutely corrupts. So to the extent that I have more power, I will naturally abuse that power. And we say with great power comes great responsibility. So here, Krishna has all the power. No one is more powerful than Krishna. And yet he takes joy in taking such a, you could call it a lowly task. He's the charioteer. He's doing something that's like, he's God. He can move something with his hand or his mind if he wants. He doesn't need to actually be in the chariot holding the reins. And he's doing it, as a loving service to his devotee. So like the purport is saying, the relationship between the Lord and his servitor is very sweet. So that's obviously part of the wonderful nature of devotional service is that we're always told, for one step you take towards Krishna, he takes 10 towards you. And we can see that with his devotees too, that, our seniors in this movement, they're so patient and kind with us and so ready to serve. Just like, in the last couple days, Prabhu's been kindly serving everybody prashadam. When I come to the breakfast table, I've been, I haven't had anything to eat in the morning, and that's all I'm thinking about. Maybe for the second half of Bhagavatam class, I'm just thinking, when is the prasadam going to get here? And then we go downstairs, and this Prabhu is able to, hold off his senses just for a little bit longer so he can serve the devotees. So this is the mood of the devotees, and they're, imitating the Lord, who is the perfect example. That he has everything. He doesn't need to do anything like I do. I have these senses. If I don't get enough sleep, if I don't get enough food, if somebody says something I don't like, I'm extremely irritated for, who knows how long. And so here Krishna is taking pleasure in serving. And so we can learn from that, when I'm doing some task that seems like, oh, this isn't that important, why are they having me do this? That it's not the task always so much as the love behind the task. And so if I'm just an insignificant ant, in respect to the universe and everything, I can just see, oh, here's God, here's the most powerful being in existence, and he's taking such a small, lowly task. So he considers it that valuable to serve his devotees. And so that's the mood, right? That love is unconditional. And he's giving Arjuna full facility to make the correct decision. Like Mataji was saying, that he's with him in the chariot. He's encouraging him, he's throughout the rest of the Bhagavad Gita, he's showing him the enemies, and he's encouraging him that, as long as you do what I ask of you, you have no reason to fear. And, Arjuna's in what we would consider the most fearful situation. He's in a war, and not just any war, he's in a world war. And the consequences are very, very dire. So any person in that situation would naturally, they wouldn't be able to control their mind in this situation. But it says here, as master, everyone is under his orders, and no one is above him to order him. But when he finds that a pure devotee is ordering him, he obtains transcendental pleasure, although he is the infallible master of all circumstances. Just like when his mother is, chastising him, and he's, breaking the pots with the butter, he likes this type of relationship, that among the worshipers of God, we see that a lot of them are in that mood of awe and reverence, that God is so great, I can never possibly understand how great he is. And that is very wonderful. But to go beyond that is to realize that he's a person, and he likes to play just like we do. And so we can just imagine that, because we see that with people in the world, that, if somebody's appreciating a great personality from a distance, that person who's being appreciated, he respects them for doing that. But then if you see him with somebody who's on a more intimate level, they might josh around. He may make a joke at his friend's expense that somebody else would say, wow, is he really doing that? But, they have that level of sweetness that he can get away with that, and that person actually appreciates that. Or if you have any comments, please feel free. But the last paragraph here is also interesting. As a pure devotee of the Lord, Arjuna had no desire to fight with his cousins and brothers, but he was forced to come onto the battlefield by the obstinacy of Duryodhana, who was never agreeable to any peaceful negotiation. Therefore, he was very anxious to see who the leading persons present on the battlefield were. Although there was no question of a peacemaking endeavor on the battlefield, he wanted to see them again and to see how much they were bent upon demanding an unwanted war. So Arjuna is, it says, as a pure devotee of the Lord. So he has no actual desire to fight these people, because, his nature is to be peaceful. And he gives Krishna every reason why maybe I could do this, maybe I could do that to avoid this fight. And Krishna is telling him that, you don't worry about this, because as long as you act with the consciousness of me, carrying out my orders, you will never fail. So he says at one point, even if you die on the battlefield, for a Kshatriya, it's the greatest thing. You'll attain the heavenly planets. But ultimately, the Bhagavad Gita, from start to finish, is always talking about this more or less, that if we dovetail everything in Krishna consciousness, we may, just like Krishna is, taking this menial task of being the chariot driver, on a regular basis in devotional service. If I'm not advanced, I may see something like cleaning the toilets, or taking measurements of things for the temple, or all these tiny little tasks as being menial. But in reality, compared to what we were doing before devotional service, where I may have been doing some material task, and I thought, I'm whatever, I'm fixing all the cars, and how glorious it is, I have this skill set, I can do this, and I can measure up my weight, or my expertise. I can feel really, really powerful from that. But in reality, if it's not for devotional service, then it has absolutely no value. Whereas even the tiniest task, I can find some little spot on the temple floor that just somehow last night when we were mopping, we missed, and get that little spot. And we hear about, Lord Chaitanya cleaning is it Gundicha? The Gundicha temple, both inside and out. So this is the mood that, so many of us are, at least I speak from personal experience, that, if temple president or somebody says, hey, do you think you could do this service? They don't even order me. They ask politely, do you think it's possible you could do this service? And my quick nature says, that's not really a service for me, probably. That sounds like a service for the other guy. He's better at that. I don't really like doing that. That's not my cup of tea. But this is not the proper mindset that, when we're doing things that, we may not be expert in, or we may say, wow, this is just opposite of my nature. When I do this, I'm really not in a good place. But as a friend of mine would say, it's like learning how to stretch. I have a certain capacity, but by doing these things that it doesn't naturally come easy to me, I can increase in my loving relationship with the devotees. And this is important because through Prabhupada's teachings and the Sampradaya, we're always learning that if I really want to know Krishna, I have to serve Krishna's dog. That the servant of the servant of the servant of the servant. I want to serve him. I want to make him, the most important thing in my life, because he's dear to Krishna. And so, just like you wouldn't enter someone's home and just push past their dog or their child and say, no, get out of my way. I just want to see this one person, because all the people in this person's family, they're representing him in a sense that, in terms of Krishna, they're literally part and parcel of him. That, when you're thinking of Krishna, in one sense, he's different from the world, but in another sense, he's one with the world. He's inconceivably one and different. So we had a Mataji here the other day who she was giving class and was making a very nice point that her Guru Dev pointed out that, like, even the clothing, like when you take your clothing off and your tendency is like, yeah, throw it in the corner of the room. I'll get to it later and make a big pile or whatever. Just the consciousness that I'm going to like toss it off, or, something is in my way, I'm going to kick it over. We should even understand that inanimate objects are a part of Krishna and to respect them, especially in devotional service, because, without, the stool that I'm using to sit on, or the microphone that I, speak about Krishna in, without all these inanimate objects, I can't do my service. And so how appreciative I must be that, Krishna's giving me facility. Like I was just saying, if we take one step, he takes 10 steps towards us. So, if somebody on the Harinam, we try to be friendly to people, even if they don't look like they're having the best day or like they're grumpy with us. We wave, hey man, how are you? And if they wave back at us, they've just begun their devotional service, because they're being kind to a devotee. They're showing the correct mood. And so one thing I like to do when I distribute books is, I walk up and say, Hare Krishna, did you get a book yet? Or whatever the rest of it is. But the first thing they heard was Hare Krishna. And one guy today really pleased me, because he said Hare Krishna back. He may not know what it is, but he's chanting the Lord's holy names. He's chanting Hare and Krishna. And so he didn't just say Krishna, he said Hare as well, which means he's approaching Krishna through his energy. So, but it's just really amazing to think that Krishna is the supreme enjoyer. And so, me, obviously, I want to enjoy things, but I'm so bad at it. And so the tendency is for me to be selfish. I don't want to serve anybody. I want to serve me. And I'm not even good at doing that. But Krishna, who has all facility to do whatever he wants, if he wants to have a pakora, he can make 1,000,000 of them. If he wants to have a nice car, he can have the nicest car. If he wants to make anything, it's all at his fingertips. He can immediately make it happen. And what is he doing? He's serving his devotees. So, love is really the basis of the entire world. That if we're not trying to love others, we're not going to be happy. But how do you love others if you don't love Krishna? And how do you love Krishna if you don't love Krishna's devotees? And in one sense, the devotees are the people that wear tilak and they chant Hare Krishna and this and that. But in another sense, everybody's a devotee. They've just forgotten that they're devotees. So we can understand that, even the person who seems like, oh, he has no capacity for service because he's mentally unwell, or there's something wrong with him, or, maybe he's just been doing drugs his entire life and, breaking all the regulative principles, or maybe he's made so many offenses against devotees and this and that. But ultimately, deep down, he's a devotee who's forgotten he's a devotee. And so, we hear so many stories where, Alankara Prabhu likes to tell a story that my version is kind of shorter, but he was talking about how he went to a side of town that was kind of the side of town you don't really go to. There's a lot of sketchy people and just, people drinking and drugs and alcohol, and gathered a bunch of people on the bus and came back to the temple. And he said he got a few looks from his godbrothers like, what are you doing? Why would you bring these people to the temple? And when they all started chanting Hare Krishna and jumping up and dancing, he said he looked at Prabhupada, and Prabhupada just had the biggest smile. And that's when he knew, he's like, yep, I did the right thing. So I like to think of that just because, You know, we sometimes see that on Harinam that, you know, we'll watch Danavir Maharaj go up to crowds of people and just, you know, chant the mantra. And, you know, normally people don't like to be ordered what to do. And they see the devotees dancing in ecstasy and having such a good time. And some of them just go with it. And they just suddenly they're jumping up and dancing. And so it's amazing to think that if people really take to this process, even just a little bit, even for that tiny little window, and especially if they hear about Krishna from the pure devotee, then, you know, like Jambavati Sutta Prabhu is always saying, they get the fast pass. It's like you go to Disney World and everybody's waiting in this line. There's 100 people and you have the fast pass and you get to sneak past all those people, and it's not even necessary. So, and that's one thing when I occasionally do books, because it's something that's very difficult for me in the current moment. I find often I bring up to people that, like, you know, we have this amazing ability to utilize the human form of life that, you know, Prabhu here's made the point recently that I don't remember the number exactly, but I think it's 40 quadrillion ants on the planet. And so we can think there's this many ants, there's this many bacteria, there's this many trees, all these living entities. And there's only just, I think it's 7 billion humans, something like this. So, you know, we can just understand that all those living entities are waiting to get a human birth. And until they do, they're just eating, mating, sleeping, defending. You know, they don't have the real opportunity to experience love like a human does.
Yes, thank you, Prabhu. That's our time for today. Sorry, please forgive me. I think I actually fell asleep sitting up today. Please forgive me. I'm going to go to bed now. Bhagavad Gita ki jai.